Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Bad Movie Night. My name's Chris, and tonight I checked out the new Netflix movie, Nobody Sleeps in the Woods Tonight. It is directed by one Bartosz Kowalski. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. He is a Polish man, and this is a Polish production taking place in Poland. So this movie is about a bunch of teens who get sent to this camp where they're supposed to give up all their cell phones and technology because it's supposed to help them cure their technology addiction. And then they kind of get separated into groups and set out camping. But not all is as it seems, because in the woods there's like these monstrous hillbilly men. And then some hijinks ensue. This movie is a complete and utter waste of time in almost every way possible. I'm extremely frustrated after watching it. I literally just watched it and I'm doing this video. This movie offers absolutely nothing original. It is a combination of a few movies like The Hills Have Eyes, Wrong Turn, and then a little bit of like meta thought from Scream. You mix that all up, and every kind of predictable moment you think would happen happens. There's a bunch of kill sequences in the movie. None of them are really new or original. There's a bunch of homages to Friday the 13th and some Terminator and Aliens in its dialogue, but it tries nothing new. There's one little thing. I shouldn't say that. There's one little thing that kind of tweaks on it, and I'll tell you about it in the spoiler section. This is an extremely disappointing movie. I was talking earlier in some other thing I covered, I think the other Netflix movie, Cadaver, where I like, even if you take a well-defined genre or a tropey movie and you give it a foreign spin, sometimes I can really like that simply because of the different perspective in the cultures and whatnot and locations. This movie doesn't even feel like it's that much different. It feels like they directly tried to just make a generic slasher. Like if you boil this down and you give me a very base level slasher movie, let's take Terrifier for example. I bring that one up all the time because I think it's a really good example of a more recent slasher that a lot of people like. That movie has no depth whatsoever. It is straightforward, all thrills. The characters are completely one-dimensional. There's no thought going into it beyond its sequence. You have Art the Clown, who's kind of iconic and well performed, and then the movie carries through and gives you exactly what you want. It's got some really gross, fun kill sequences. There's that one, the lady gets cut in half, sawed in half. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. It's memorable, right? So that movie obviously is low budget, but is doing what it needs to satisfy its audience. This movie has some sort of budget. It has production value. It's got good lighting. It's got, good camera work. It's got proper sound design and recording and all that stuff. But at its most base level, it doesn't do anything particularly well enough to be memorable. If you would have done the exact same story, but had some really, really unique kill sequences, at least then it would have been something entertaining. But the problem is the kill sequences in this movie aren't that bad, but they're not good enough to be memorable, and everything else in this storyline is just unbelievably forgettable. Some of the music choices in this movie are weird. You have what feels like little interstitial moments where they're playing Tiptoe Through the Tulips, but it's not quite that. It just kind of sounds similar to that. And then other times you'll have like what sounds like the opening to like a rap song, and none of this builds on like a tone that feels like congruent in any way. It just feels random and kind of weird. They briefly mention like the meta aspect of horror movies, much like Scream did, where one character goes off about like the 6 rules of a horror movie, blah, 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 blah. And then all the characters are those stereotypes. You have the jock, you have the closeted homosexual guy, you have the ditzy blonde lady, you have the nerdy guy. Like you just have all these things that you've seen a million times and expect from a cheesy 80s slasher movie. And because they mention it, and like in 1 or 2 sequences, some of these characters mention that they're like, yes, I am actually gay, I'm closeted. And the blonde is like, yes, people think of me as a ditzy, slutty girl. But it doesn't, that's it. It's just like the characters mention it, but it doesn't do anything with that information. So what was the point? And then on top of that, they compound a few sequences with these characters where they make them have like dramatic conversations that have zero depth and are just kind of like annoying to watch because I don't feel anything for these characters. And again, I don't really need to feel much for a character in a slasher movie as long as I'm entertained with the kill sequences and stuff like that. But because they're so like passable but not good, it wasn't enough. Everything else is bad. At least the kills needed to be great, or something needed to stand out in this thing. And everything is just so baseline and forgettable that it's almost worse. Like, either make this movie bad, at least then maybe I'd find something entertaining or something to latch onto. But there's literally nothing. Everything is just so average. It definitely feels like there's some sort of societal undertones, social commentary going on there, perhaps about Polish politics or society. So you have some undertones of like intolerance with this closeted homosexual kid, and then perhaps some sprinkling of like religious criticisms maybe. I'm not exactly sure, and that could just be, because I'm an American, I'm missing little aspects that create some sort of more interesting subtle storyline here, or subtle like commentary, but I don't know. So you have one little thing that's kind of different, and this is a spoiler, but I don't recommend you watch this movie. But if you want to, go watch it. The one difference they do here is they introduce the creation of these monster hillbilly things are because of a meteor, and they're kind of like infected by this, I guess, some sort of alien ooze type thing. And that's kind of interesting, right? Only that's it. That's the depth of it. You get nothing beyond that. There's no other purpose for it. And so it feels like it's a wasted opportunity then. I'm harsh on this movie because I think it has every opportunity to kind of succeed. If the story would have been in some way unique, all these kills would have been completely passable, and the look of the movie is fine. Everything else is fine. It started out badly, and the execution on a bad script, a generic script, was fine, but not enough to like make this thing in any way entertaining. Extremely disappointing. If you really want to make like a complete homage to an 80s slasher movie, then just make like a fan film and make it like 20 minutes long. But don't just rehash the exact same thing without bringing anything new. So that's gonna do it for Nobody Sleeps in the Woods tonight. If you watched it and you liked it, or if you had thoughts, let me know down below. And then let me know what I should be watching. I might go check out that new Craft movie. We'll see. I don't know. Otherwise, let me know what I should be watching, and I'll catch you here next time, guys. Goodbye.